So over the last few hours, we've got a bunch of fight announcements. Now, none of them are the massive eye-opening main events that we have been expecting, but they are pretty good fights, and I'm going to talk about every single one of them on this video here. The more important ones of the announcements were the two fights that were added to UFC 299, and I think with those fights, UFC 299 is going to be a complete card. It would make it a 13-fight card, which is generally how long the cards are. Sometimes they can stretch them out to 14 fights. But I think a 13-fight UFC 299 card is what they're going to go with. And then there was a bunch of other fights announced as well. Of course, all by a Big Marcel 24 on Instagram. If you don't already, you should follow him. He posts before everyone else, really. I mean, of course, the sources are the initial posters, but Big Marcel beats everyone else to it. That isn't the original source, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to talk about especially the UFC 299 announcement, just because they're going to be, I guess, the bigger fights on the bigger cards. But let's get into it. So we're going to go with here, Rebellis Despayne versus Josh Parisian was announced. This, of course, is going to be Rebellis Despayne's debut. I mean, he was just signed to the UFC. I believe he was signed to the UFC minutes after his last fight when he won, I believe, in less than 10 seconds. He's 4-0. I think 3 of his wins are in less than 10 seconds, which is crazy. He's got a former Taekwondo bronze medalist at the Olympics and the World Champs as well, twice at the World Champs. And he's a really good striker. We haven't really seen him in a fight that's lasted a very long time. I mean, all of his wins have just come at the very beginning of the fight. And I feel like for Josh Parisian, this is kind of the UFC saying, this is the fight, you know, like this is your only fight. We're not going to give you anything else if you don't want to take this one. So here we have it. Rebellis Despayne taking on Josh Parisian. I am on board with the Despayne hype train. Now, do I think that he's just going to go out there and knock everyone out in 10 seconds? Probably not, but do I think he's going to knock out Josh Parisian in the first round? Yeah, probably, unless Parisian can go out there and just try and out-wrestle him and we see a massive hole in Rebellis' game, because we haven't really seen too much wrestling out of him at all. So maybe if Josh Parisian goes out there and immediately is shooting for takedowns, maybe it could be a different story, but I'm going to go with Rebellis. I think as long as the fight is on the feet, Parisian is going to be in a bit of trouble. That's going to be a good one there. I'm going to assume it's pretty early on in the prelims, but it's going to be an absolute banger to start off the card. Maybe it is the card opener, or maybe... So I think Vergara versus Almabayev will probably open the card, and then this might be the second or third fight on this card. This card is really good, by the way. This is a really, really good card. And now I can move on to Maquiao Pahea taking on Maquiao Chek. This is also on UFC 299. Another good fight. Two pure strikers at middleweight as well, because obviously Maquiao is going to be moving up a weight class now. He recently did just beat Andre Petroski, which is cool, knocked him out. Maquiao Chek is a good fighter. He's a former light heavyweight, and he looks small at light heavyweight. And he still looks like he's still a little bit small for 185, which is crazy to think that he was there at 205 pounds. Maquiao Chek is a pure boxer, and Maquiao Pahea is a kickboxer, but he's got that dance fighting style where he's really exciting. You guys know who Maquiao Pahea is, but yeah, this should be a pure striking matchup. It should be pretty good. Someone is probably going to get knocked out. I think Maquiao Pahea can get it done. I like the move to 185. I know he's probably not the biggest guy at 185, but he was massive at 170, and I do think he will fit in quite well. I think he's going to be a little bit faster than Maquiao. Maquiao did find some success against Caio Borralho again in the striking, which, you know, I guess it's Caio Borralho, he's more of a grappler, but I think that Maquiao Pahea is going to give Oleg Chechik problems. You know, I think he should be able to kick from range, use that length, use all of those kicks that he does have, because Maquiao, as I said, he's mostly just a boxer, and I'm sure Maquiao Pahea is going to knock those legs beneath him before he does finish the fight. So that's my pick, Maquiao Pahea. Very early pick, though, obviously. There's so much time, a lot could happen. So let's go. Now we'll go in chronological order, I guess, from when they were announced. Actually, I might talk about these two fights at the end as well. There was a lot of fights that have been announced recently. Now we'll go to Haider Emil taking on Melsik Baghdasaryan. I'm going to go with Melsik Baghdasaryan here. Haider Emil is a really, really fun fighter, but I do worry about his cardio because he has slowed down in the past. He slowed down on Dana White's Contender Series, but that fight was a little bit of a mess. Both guys gassed out. Emre Sonmu is actually gassed out before Haider Emil did, sorry. But Haider Emil kind of fights like Trevor Peek. He's going to be a really, really fun fighter in the UFC. He's going to put on really good fights. But I do think that Melsik Baghdasaryan should be too good at striking for him. I think he's going to be more technical. I think he's going to pick his spots. And I think Hyder Emil's going to be left open for Melsik just to land some really nice shots on him. So, yes, because Hyder Emil is so aggressive and so crazy, could I see him just rushing forward and catching Melsik? Absolutely, because Melsik does really have that technical kickboxing style where he is quite patient, and maybe someone that is just swarming forward could catch him. But I like Melsik, though, in the fight. I think that he should be able to beat Hyder here. I feel like maybe with the UFC, Hyder Emil's not young. I think he's like 33 years old or something like that. Yeah, he's 33, maybe 34 by the time 33 years old. He's older for a guy making his UFC debut, so I feel like the UFC said to Hyder, hey, we just signed to the UFC with you're 33. We're going to give you a push now. We're going to give you a pretty difficult fight in your debut just to see can we push you further, because, you know, a lot of guys leave their prime in the mid-30s. So I guess Hyder Emil doesn't have a lot of prime left of him, I guess, traditionally. So I think they're pushing him here against Melsik. We've got another fighter making his debut. It's going to be Luis Rodriguez. I'm very happy to see Luis Rodriguez make his debut. He's very young. I believe he's only 24 years old, but he's already had 18 fights with a record of 16-2. He was on Dana White's Contender Series, and I believe he lost to Jerome Rivera. But that was a bad decision. My problem with it, though, is even though it was a really bad decision, you shouldn't be having close fights with Jerome Rivera, but that was when he was like 21 years old. He's gotten a few wins since then. He's gotten older. He's matured a bit more. Luis Rodriguez is a guy that has made my list. I think he made my list last year for the 2023 season on who should be on Dana White's Contender Series 2023. I said that I think he should come back, and now he's in the UFC. He's taking on Dennis Bondar. Dennis Bondar has been a little bit disappointing. His record was a bit padded coming in. He just hasn't been as good as we thought. Now, I do understand one of his losses did come to a broken arm, which is rough, to say the least, but I didn't think he looked very impressive in his last matchup against... It wasn't Christian Rodriguez, but he has a similar name. Oh, this is so bad. But, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna pick Luis Rodriguez to beat Dennis Bondar. He's a pretty good striker. He's a good grappler as well. He can do it all. I like that Rodriguez is in the UFC. The next one, Muhammad Naimov versus Eric Silva. The Tajikistan fan base must be really strong for the UFC to keep pushing Muhammad Naimov, because this is a step down in competition. He does come off that win over Nathaniel Wood, where it was very controversial. He was cheating a bit, but I won't get into that in this video, of course. This is a step down in competition. We just saw Eric Silva get out-grappled by TJ Brown, and Eric Silva's a good fighter. I think that he is. Well, he proved me so wrong in his last fight, though, because I think Eric Silva is good. He's a good grappler, but he just needs to get the fight down to the ground. Stylistically, this is actually a pretty hard matchup for Naimov because Eric Silva is so good at grappling. He's got a really dangerous rear naked choke. I think he was on like a 4-5 fight first round rear naked choke streak at some point before he got into the UFC. But I think the striking of Naimov's going to be too good. The takedown defense is going to be tested. I feel like maybe that's what the UFC's doing here, because Tajikistan is a country that absolutely loves their fighters. So I feel like maybe the UFC is thinking, let's test Naimov's takedown defense here, and if it's really good, then we can move him up the rankings against a well-rounded fighter, a fighter that can strike, a fighter that can wrestle. I don't know, just a name that comes to my head right now is like Andre Fili, for example. But yeah, this is a step down in competition for Naimov for sure. I mean, he just fought Nathaniel Wood, and now he's taking on Eric Silva, who didn't look impressive against TJ Brown. Interesting matchmake, but I can see what they're doing. I think they're trying to build Naimov. Naimov should be able to get a KO so they can use him in highlights in the future. And now we've got a really good fight. I actually don't mind that this fight has been made. They are both really young fighters, though. Francisco Prado, he's older than me. He's just older. He's older than me by like 2 weeks. That's nuts. What am I doing? Anyway, yeah, Francisco Prado, he'll be 21 years old because I'm 21. I should be able to figure that one out. And Daniel Zellhuber is going to be 24. So 24 years old taking on a 20-year-old in the UFC. That doesn't happen often. These are some really, really young guys. I do like Zellhuber in the matchup, though. I think that Zellhuber's boxing and striking should be technical enough. Now, we have seen him struggle in the past. He struggled to Trey Ogden, which was weird in the striking. A really weird fight. And Francisco Prado is a guy that's going to be moving forward, a guy that is going to be pressuring and putting you in uncomfortable situations. So maybe we could see Francisco Prado go out there and pull off an upset. Prado mentioned that he was going to move to 170 after his last fight, which I thought was really weird. 155 is Prado's weight class. He's not even, I don't think he's very tall. He's not very, he's big for 155, don't get me wrong, but he's not like super big for 155. Not big enough to move to 170 anyway. Now, Prado is a guy that's just going to go out there and try and knock out Zellhuber. Zellhuber's going to be more technical. I think he should be able to pick apart Daniel Zellhuber as well. Sorry, I think Daniel Zellhuber should be able to pick apart Francisco Prado. So I'm going to pick Zellhuber by decision in this fight here, just to kind of give my prediction there. And quickly, I'll talk about the last two fights. This one here, Christian Rodriguez moving up to 145, taking on Isaac Delgarian. I'm going to pick Isaac Delgarian here. He's a really good wrestler. Like a really good wrestler. And I understand Christian Rodriguez is a really good boxer and a really good grappler. But Delgarian looks really good in his last fight. He just dominated Francis Marshall. I think he should. I don't think he's going to dominate Christian Rodriguez. But I think it might look like the Raul Rosas Jr. fight for Christian Rodriguez, except for more than one round. Now, the thing about Delgarian, though, is he has so many first-round finishes. We don't actually know if he's going to have the cardio to keep up the pace for 3 rounds, like Raul Rosas Jr. didn't. But another thing about Christian Rodriguez is I thought he looked really good in the loss at 145 to Jonathan Pierce. So, yeah, maybe C-Rod. C-Rod's a bantamweight that just can't make the weight. Honestly, it's what it comes down to. I don't really know what it is about him. But yeah. Yeah, he just couldn't make 135 consistently, so he's moved up to 145. Hopefully at 145 we can see him put on just a little bit more muscle to really suit the weight class. I mean, Isaac Delgarian's not very big. I think he's relatively short for 145, but he's pretty well built, as you can see in that photo there. Yeah, I'm going to go with Delgarian. He's a really good wrestler. I think he should be able to out-wrestle Christian Rodriguez here. And now we have Toshiomi Kazama taking on Charalampus Grigoriou. And I really want to pick Toshiomi Kazama because I've seen he just knocked out Cameron Smotherman though easily and made me look like a right idiot because I was confident Cameron Smotherman was going to beat him. But the thing about Charalampus Grigoriou is I've seen him struggle against low-level competition, and that scares me. But the thing about Toshiomi Kazama is he just got absolutely boxed up by Garrett Armfield and couldn't get the fight down to the ground. And now he's coming back. I don't want to say it's super soon after, because that fight was in Singapore. I think it was quite a few months ago now. But I kind of hope maybe he could take a little bit of time off, and then... Yeah, man, I'm just kind of thinking, like, oh, Toshiomi Kazama. I'm gonna lean Toshiomi Kazama. I just don't know if I could pull the trigger on it when the prediction comes out. But to give a quick breakdown of this fight, this is a very long video, but I guess it is every single fight that's been announced with a prediction. Grigoriou is gonna be the better striker. Kazama's striking is not as good as I thought it was, and it is very embarrassing to say. I'll be honest. So yeah, I was so wrong about Toshiomi, but he's really good at judo and grappling. He's gonna be better at grappling. He just needs to get the fight down to the ground. But Grigoriou is a wrestler too, so. Yeah, it's a rough one. I'm gonna go with Kazama though. I'm not sold on Grigoriou. You know what I mean? So yeah, oh god, that's such a bad pick though, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Kazama. I think he's gonna be a massive underdog. He might even be like plus 180, maybe plus 200 if they go with Grigoriou minus 250. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight. I am going to go with Kazama, though. I do rate the grappling of Kazama. I do, if he can get the fight down to the ground. I will talk about this one here. Banger. Absolute banger. I probably am going to pick Davey Grant, but this is going to be fight of the night, for sure. So with all that being said, let me know what you think in the comments below. This is the end of the video. I do want to announce, though, I'm going to be releasing music soon. If you guys don't know, I used to make music. I've made music on and off for a very long time. As a producer, making beats for like rappers and artists and stuff. But now I'm going to be making lo-fi music, but things just got a little bit complicated because last night I got advice to reach out to a record label. So I've been reaching out to record labels potentially about releasing my music through them and not doing it solo. So yeah, I was going to start releasing music next week, but I think things might have just gotten a little bit more complicated. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next one.